Welcome to the new Process Control Lab. My name is Mr. Richard Chrysler, and I'm going to give you a tour of the new Process Control Lab. A little history. On 12 September 2015, the beginning of the fall semester, when you guys were in the fall semester, it's a Saturday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. I came here and moved all the equipment from where the Process Control Lab was to this room. This is A214, so second floor in the A building. And this room is relatively small, so as I take you through the lab, you'll see how small this room is. And I'll also talk about some of the experiments in very general terms, and I'll also talk about some of the features of this room and some of the things that you need to be careful about when you come in to do your experiments. So the first experiment that I want to talk about is a multi-tank discharge experiment. Now this experiment did exist last spring semester, but it was completely different. It's been completely rebuilt. And now we do have control valves on the apparatus so we can control the flow going through the system. This is going to be experiment 520, and it's going to remain 520 for the whole semester. Okay. Over here, we have another level control experiment that instead of using a control valve to control the levels in the tanks, it uses a variable speed pump. And we will not use this apparatus for the first experiment, so the process measurement experiment. We will not use this apparatus, and we won't use it until cycle 2. When we do process dynamics, we will use this apparatus, and it's going to be experiment 510. And in a minute, I'll show you the other 510 station that you will be using for the first experiment. So over here, we have the temperature control experiments. They're actually back to back. So this is experiment 610 set up over here, and this is going to be experiment 620. So you have to be conscious about this when you come to do your experiment. So for the process measurement experiment, this is what you will use for your first lab experiment. You will not use this unit until process dynamics, so the second cycle. So we won't use this one until the second cycle. On this one, we're going to be measuring or looking at characterizing the final control element for a heating system. Okay. Over here, we have a pressure control apparatus, and this one is also not going to be used during the first experiment cycle. It won't be used until the second experiment cycle for the process dynamics, but this will be experiment 720. Right around over here is another level control experiment where this one only has a single tank instead of the multi-tank apparatus, but it's the same principles. And this is going to be apparatus 510 for the first measurement experiment. And what's going to happen is, since we have 2 level control experiments, for the first hour and a half of the process measurement lab period, one team will start with this apparatus, another team will start on that apparatus. And then about an hour and a half into the lab period, you're going to switch. And so the team that was over here on the single tank discharge experiment will go to the multi-tank discharge and vice versa. That will give you some exposure to different valves, valves that have different characteristics, and that's going to be important that you can compare in your report when you're going to do your report. Back around over here. Safety shower and eye wash station here, right by the pass-through door. Now this pass-through door leads to Dr. Rama's research lab, and I don't want any students going in and out of this door. It's only for an ingress or egress route if there's an emergency. So if there's a fire, say in the process control lab, you can't get to the exit over here, you can't exit through this way, but that's the only time you should go through here. Okay. So for pressure control, that's the 700 series experiments. There's 2 stations, 710 and 720. This will be 710, and this is going to be pressure calibration. So you're going to characterize the input sensor, which is a pressure transducer, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. And you'll also look at another pressure transducer. This is going to be 710 for the first lab period, and for the second lab period, we're going to have another pressure control experiment that's going to be set up over here where 720 is set up. So this is 720. Here we're going to characterize another final control element, but this one's going to control pressure. So we're going to have some power input to this device, and it's going to control the pressure inside this tank. And so final control element and input sensor over here. And this is our 600 series 610. This is temperature calibration. And what you're going to do is you're going to calibrate two different types of temperature sensors and two different measurement devices with this multifunction calibrator. And I'll demonstrate this more to you here in just a moment. And last but not least is another temperature control experiment. Again, you won't use this apparatus until the second cycle. So that would be process dynamics. So there you go. It's a relatively small lab space. And I know that these stations may be a little bit confusing at first, but when you come in for reconnoitering, all that will be cleared up for you. And it's important to note that these videos are going to be posted on Course Blackboard website hopefully this weekend. And I encourage you to watch all the videos, not just the introduction, but also all the videos for each experiment station. So I'm going to do a little video for each experiment station demonstrating the equipment, how it functions and so forth, and talk about some of the things that you need to be thinking about when you're doing your experiment. Thank you very much.